Hello, hello, this is Tim Law with Planet Forward Coaching and Self-Reliance You. Always remember that your life, your career, your dreams are all essential. Whatever your mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. A big thank you to over 360 people that have subscribed to this YouTube channel, Planet Forward Coaching. Very much appreciated. If you haven't yet, please do so. We've got some great interviews on here, and a wonderful young lady who was on my Northeastern tennis team, Katie McGonigal. She was had her as her senior year. She played in our singles lineup, and one of the biggest things I remember with Katie was she clinching our match with a third set tiebreaker win over some school called West York. So welcome, Katie, and let's hear your story a little bit.
All right, absolutely. So my story, I'm trying to think of what exactly to hit on. So essentially my biggest influence on my life has been my mother.
Mhm.
She lived her life so selflessly. I don't think there's another individual that I've known to live how she did. She was so caring and so kind. And I think one of the biggest things that impacted me was her passing away in 2018 unexpectedly. That wasn't something that I even considered in my life. I think it just set up a precedent for me to reconsider like what exactly I was doing with my life and what exactly makes me happy, and also how exactly can I serve others the way she did. So I
Mhm.
think that kind of just changed the way I see what the meaning of life is and what I want to do with my life. So I was an education major prior to that, but then her death kind of just made me reevaluate basically everything because time is so limited. And I ended up switching my major from education to human development and family science because I wanted to be more of an advocate role for overall school climate and culture, which led me to my master's program here at Shippensburg for school counseling.
Well, that's wonderful. And you did your undergraduate at Messiah, Katie. What are some of your favorite memories or thoughts as far as Messiah was concerned?
So I think the biggest thing about Messiah was the community that was involved there. I feel like there was a lot of like-minded people, but also I was challenged in the way that I live out my faith. My faith has definitely been a guiding feature for my whole life. However, I think the way I was living it out before was very, I don't want to say fake, but in a way, yes, I wasn't allowing myself to be shaped by others. In a
Mhm.
sense, I think just being at Messiah, you're exposed to so many different viewpoints and everything. I think I learned more of what it means to love others for who they are and not being judgmental. Granted, it's such a learning process, but I believe in just the value of knowing the individual, knowing their story, and actually taking time to listen to others. And I believe that everyone's story provides something of value to learn from. And I think if we take the time to listen, we are encouraged to grow in our own strengths.
Mhm.
Life doesn't just start or begin or end in a certain way. It's such a growing process, and you can't just learn one thing without questioning what happens, questioning how another person perceives it. And I believe that's just something that's really valuable.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I certainly agree with you, Katie. Um, as far as what are some of your favorite memories, let's say, of when you were there in high school? Because I know you were on the tennis team, and I was privileged to have you as a senior in the 2015-2016 season. You know, with Laura Zelinsky, Leah Schaefer. I think it was you three that were our seniors that I recall, if I'm accurate on that. And what were some of your best memories? Not only necessarily with tennis, but school overall, the things you were involved with.
So honestly, high school was some of the best and worst moments of my life, if I'm being completely honest with you, coach.
Mhm.
So in the beginning, I struggled a lot and continued on like struggling with a lot of my mental health. I struggled with the eating disorder back then. So it's just kind of just trying to figure out who I was. I believe that's what so many adolescents are struggling with.
Sure.
However, early on, I didn't find that support system until later on through my counselors, Mrs. Gamber and Mrs. Hack. I spent a lot of hours inside their office. So I think my best memories was just having them as mentors and
Mhm.
having them help me to understand how to deal with what I was going through in a healthy way while also staying true to myself. But as for the good memories, definitely more of the tennis team. I loved the community we had there. And I believe the year with you has been like the best year our girls have seen, honestly, and just being connected. And then another thing I really enjoyed was theater. I love just being on stage and just having fun with people.
Mhm. Yeah, well, you certainly come across as a very genuine person, Katie. And as I mentioned to you off camera, there, when I interviewed Bryn McDonald the other day, she talked about, during the interview that we discussed that you're one of her favorite memories, and you're a good mentor. Being the big senior, she was the little freshman and everything, and she speaks very very fondly of you, and many of the other teammates that she had. That's for sure. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about this. You're doing your GA, graduate assistant. I'm assuming that's what that means over there in Shippensburg. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I applied for this position. I honestly wasn't expecting to get it. I had to do the interview through my car just because of my shift at daycare. I had to take it during my lunch break, and it just wasn't a good place to take it because everything was loud in the break room. So I came out not expecting to get it at all. But it's
Mhm.
basically with first year experience. So helping with first years staying like on task with college and just making sure that they know that they're welcome and trying to make sure that if there are any warning signs of a lack of academic attendance or they're just not succeeding in other aspects of their life or they're having other personal challenges that our peer anchors are there to help address them. So my job is kind of to train our peer anchors that are really advocating for these students.
Okay, so you're kind of helping these kids that come in from high school kind of transition successfully into college, if I'm hearing you right.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, very good, very good. And what obviously this is going to start. Will it start in the fall or will it start in the summer? What's the timetable here?
So I actually had my first shift Monday. So we've just been training with our peer anchors, just trying to get them focused on what exactly they need to know to mentor these students,
Mhm.
what they need to look out for, how they can be like very attentive to these students and what signs to look out for, as well as just being a great mentor for them and just
Mhm.
encouraging them to find success and find resources that are available to them at SHIP.
Right. And how many in your group? How many are males and how many are females as far as this mentoring program is concerned?
As far as I
Notice
know,
how the breakdown is.
you mean for the peer anchors that are mentoring the incoming freshmen?
Yes, yes. Uh-huh.
I want to say there's more females than males.
Mhm.
However, we're trying to figure out if we need another class open up. So I don't know the final number. I don't know the final breakdown, but we have about, I think, 5 guys right now. And I want to say 10 plus girls. So there's a
Okay.
lot of girls that are excited to do it.
Sure, sure. No, that sounds wonderful. And I've always said, from all the times that I was in college many, many years ago, but I've always felt the first 3 weeks in college are very important as far as getting your peer group, who you're going to be with, so on and so forth. And I always, always, always would say to freshmen that we're going in, do not hang around with the other freshmen because some of those kids aren't going to be their second semester. Get together with those juniors and seniors, those kids that have successfully navigated those first couple of years. So I really feel that first 3 weeks is to kind of, decide who you're going to kind of hang with a little bit. And then the first semester then really becomes, your academics. If you did get through that first semester academically, you get those first 3 weeks under your belt, socially, I really feel that those two combinations can really make quite a difference. Would that make sense to you?
I completely agree. That's exactly what we're telling our peer anchors right now, that those first 3 weeks that we have students there engaged within the first week
Mhm.
are just so vital to establishing that sense of community and sense of belongment. Because if they don't feel connected to the college, they're not going to stay there. And when they're not connected, even if they do stay here, they're at risk for not feeling compelled to succeed in other aspects of academics. And we don't want any of these students to fall through the cracks.
Sure, sure. And Anyway, how many, is there an idea of how many students that you might be working with potentially?
I do not have that number at the moment. We're still, I believe, just finalizing who's incoming right now and like
Sure.
still working through the acceptance. So right now it's just kind of still trying to figure out what to do with what we have. Like we have great events planned, but it's just more or less who are we serving exactly.
Right, right, sure. Yeah, well, and like I say, you've got to kind of get this in place. Now, is this kind of a new thing there at Shippensburg?
Yes, I believe this is fairly new. I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong, probably about 3 years in the making. It's,
Okay.
yeah.
Good, good. Uh, Katie, what advice would you give to kids that are, let's say, upcoming high school, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, whatever, as far as, some of the lessons you've learned, since you graduated from high school, going on to college, obviously going through the tragedy of your wonderful mother, who I did know quite well. She was an incredible lady, and you're totally right about her being totally selfless as far as, always giving to others. What would be some of your advice to those the kids of those ages there?
Absolutely. So I think the first thing just regarding academics and just feeling connected somewhere is get involved.
Mhm.
In some way, find a way to plug into something in high school. High school is the only time that you're going to have access to all these extracurriculars, and the world is basically your oyster in that way. So if you're interested in something, get involved, see what it is. It's not going to be a risk to you.
Mhm.
However, when you're in college, you're not going to have that freedom to explore those things
Mhm.
as much as you would have. So don't, if you're even slightly interested, take advantage of something, like talk to someone. Take advantage of the people that are within your high schools. See if you can get connected to other professionals, regardless if college is even on your track, or
Mhm.
if you're looking in the workforce or you're looking in the army. Talk to people and get connected because there's such great resources there.
Yeah, yeah, certainly agree. And for example, you talked about the theater, the plays, tennis, and a whole variety of different things. That's interesting. A lot of the students that I've been talking to, including I keep going back to Bryn, she mentioned the idea of, try something. You may not be good at it right away, but if just explore different avenues. There's, like you say, a lot of extracurricular things there. You make more connections that way with more people, and it's just a great way to kind of round yourself out a little bit. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, from a lot of the young people your age, I'm hearing a lot of the same things about getting involved, and I think it's excellent advice.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Bryn. Just the whole idea of trying something, and high school, it's okay to fail. I feel
Mhm.
like that's something that took me forever to learn, and I'm still struggling. And I'm a college graduate, still trying to figure out how to navigate this whole idea of trying to be anti-perfectionism, because
Mhm.
perfectionism is something that has held me captive for so long. But you're not going to know everything. You're not
Mhm.
going to know everything in college. You're not going to know how to do everything on the first day of your job. So take time to be okay with failure and realize that there are ways to bounce back, and realize that there are ways to learn and there's ways to improve yourself. And you can't improve yourself without knowing what you're doing wrong.
Sure, sure. Well, and it's interesting. You brought up the thing about perfection. I had an interview last night with Coach Eister, the basketball coach at Northeastern. He was fantastic, and we talked about that. And I've always tried to, whether it's the ladies that I coach, or the guys, whether it was in wrestling years ago or the guys tennis now, or the ladies tennis. I said the goal should always be to be excellent. Okay, nobody is perfect, and if you put yourself on that perfection pedestal, what happens is that that creates choking. It creates all kinds of things, because as soon as you have one little error, oh, it's like, oh, I'm no longer perfect. But if you're excellent, which basically I define as doing the best you can, prepare as best as you can, and then the results that you get, hey, it's the best you could do. And to be focused on being excellent, versus being perfectionistic. So perfectionists really struggle in life. They really struggle, in sports and everything like that. So I absolutely agree with you to, not be afraid to step out, fail or whatever.
Absolutely.
Mhm. And the one last point is, I'll make the kids that are really, deep into perfection. I said, no, wait a minute, hang on a second. Did you, when you were born, did you come out of the womb walking? Well, of course not. Nobody did. But so it was a trial and error. The child learned to probably roll over, they learned to crawl, they learned to toddle, and then, before they could, run or anything like that. So, Katie, any last thoughts that you have that, this has been wonderful, and I really appreciate you making the time to do this. Any last thoughts that you have?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. I think it's just important to give yourself grace. I think that would be a good closing remark. Give yourself grace, give
Mhm.
others grace, and understand that the world's going to continue, but
Mhm.
you're the one who can change perspective and make the day better or make the day worse.
Well said. Well said. Wise beyond your years, Katie. Love it. Love it. Very good. Very good. So, well, this has been wonderful. If you could just hang for a minute, I'll close this off, and we'll talk for a minute or two afterwards. And appreciate this very much, Katie. This was great.